Since the beginning of this pandemic, we told you about the suffering inside many of our nursing homes. Isolation from family, lack of PPE, rampant infections among residents, enough deaths to make up more than 42% of the state's death toll. In our investigative series, Standard of Care, we're looking at questions about lawsuits. Our Mike Perlstein talked to a leading expert, a well-known attorney, and what Mike didn't expect to find out was yet another personal tragedy.
They care for our sick, our frail, and in many cases during the deadly coronavirus pandemic, nursing homes have been overwhelmed by infections, illness, death.
It's a shame, it's a tragedy, and we need to learn something and we need to do something different.
Not since Hurricane Katrina has the vulnerability of nursing homes been so exposed. The numbers show that out of the state's more than 2,400 COVID-19 deaths, more than 40% have been residents of nursing homes or assisted living facilities.
So the mistakes are all around.
Our series, Standard of Care, has shown how many nursing homes were overwhelmed, lacking everything from personal protective equipment to enough staff to wear it. Isolation proved difficult in homes designed for communal living.
They eat together, they play bingo together, they chat together. Sometimes it's two people in a room. There's really no way to avoid that kind of closeness.
About 1,000 nursing and assisted living home residents have died due to COVID-19. And now, some of those families are wondering what could have been done, and legally, what should have been done.
But they are filing lawsuits against nursing homes in Florida, left and right.
If anyone knows about nursing homes in the law, it's Jim Cobb. He represented Sal and Mabel Mangano after 35 elderly residents drowned during Katrina inside their Chalmette nursing home, St. Rita's. He wrote this book about the case, Flood of Lies.
I had empathy for that position back then because it was a shame that these folks, it was a shame that the federal levees broke and 35 old people drowned in their wheelchairs and beds.
Empathy, yes, but legally, Cobb gained acquittals on 118 counts of negligent homicide and cruelty. In civil court, he whittled lawsuits down to relatively small, out-of-court settlements.
Nobody thought we had a chance, not even Channel 4.
So we asked Cobb, do families stand a chance in court after losing a loved one to COVID inside a nursing home? Is there grounds for legal action?
Very remote.
It's going to be almost impossible for them to recover damages under Louisiana law.
Even if mistakes were made, the legal threshold to win a lawsuit against a Louisiana nursing home is high. A plaintiff must prove medical malpractice. And when Governor John Bel Edwards declared a state of emergency on March 11th, collecting damages got even harder.
The Louisiana legislature changed the law after Katrina, especially after what happened at St. Rita.
Denise Botcher, director of the Louisiana branch of the AARP, said her group has even had to beat back lobbying efforts that would grant total immunity to nursing homes, eliminating the possibility of lawsuits altogether.
We have seen the trend across the United States wherein governors have issued executive orders, legislators have pursued other measures, and so we really wanted to get ahead of it before anything was to materialize.
Even without immunity for nursing homes, most lawyers are reluctant to take them on.
There are lawyers that don't even handle malpractice cases. Now you've got to go above that for gross negligence or willful misconduct.
Cobb's personal connection to the Katrina legal threshold stands to this day. Now, with the pandemic, he's dealing with a much deeper personal connection. Cobb's mother, 89-year-old Rita Cobb, contracted COVID-19 in a nursing home.
There is some irony there.
She died at Oxnard Hospital 2 weeks later. Cobb said his mom was placed in quarantine at St. Francis Villa in River Ridge after the virus invaded. She still got infected.
So it was no perfect response, but again, this is the first time that anybody's ever seen this. There is no playbook. There are no guidelines.
Knowing the law, Cobb said he never thought about filing a lawsuit, but that doesn't make the loss of his mom any easier.
You want to be mad at somebody, you want to blame somebody, blame the virus.
Like so many who lost loved ones in nursing homes to the virus, Cobb said the hardest part was not being able to say a proper goodbye.
I wish I had a chance to give her a hug. I wish I had a chance to give her a kiss, pat her on the cheek. And we were denied that, but that's not anybody's fault.
Using the latest Department of Health statistics, COVID-19 deaths at nursing homes and assisted living facilities now stand at 42.3% of the state's total. But unlike the rash of lawsuits notices against nursing homes filed in Florida, we have heard reports of only one such filing so far here in Louisiana.